Hello guys, it's been a little while, but welcome to our daily Churchill speech. This one is a bit longer, so hang in there with me. I'm going to try to get through it in one take. Here we go. For 400 years, the foreign policy of England has been to oppose the strongest, most aggressive, most dominating power on the continent, and particularly to prevent the Low Countries falling into the hands of such a power. Viewed in the light of history, these 4 centuries of consistent purpose amid so many changes of names and facts, of circumstances and conditions, must rank as one of the most remarkable episodes which the records of any race, nation, state, or people can show. Moreover, on all occasions, England took the more difficult course. Faced with Philip II of Spain against Louis XIV under William III, and Marlborough against Napoleon, against William II of Germany, it would have been easy and must have been very tempting to join with the stronger and share the fruits of his conquest. However, we always took the harder course, joined with the less strong powers, made a combination among them, and thus defeated and frustrated the continental military tyrant, whoever he was, whatever nation he led. Thus, we preserved the liberties of Europe, protected the growth of its vivacious and varied society, and emerged after 4 terrible struggles with an ever-growing fame and widening empire, and with the Low Countries safely protected in their independence. Here is the wonderful, unconscious tradition of British foreign policy. All our thoughts rest in that tradition today. I know of nothing which has occurred to alter or weaken the justice, wisdom, valor, and prudence upon which our ancestors acted. I know of nothing that has happened to human nature which in the slightest degree alters the validity of their conclusions. I know of nothing in military, political, economic, or scientific fact which makes me feel that we might not or cannot march along the same road. I venture to put this very general proposition before you because it seems to me that if it is accepted, everything else becomes much more simple. Observe that the policy of England takes no account of which nation it is that seeks the overlordship of Europe. The question is not whether it is Spain or the French monarchy or the French Empire or the German Empire or the Hitler regime. It has nothing to do with the rulers or nations. It is concerned solely with whoever is the strongest or the potentially dominating tyrant. Therefore, we should not be afraid of being accused of being pro-French or anti-German. If the circumstances were reversed, we could equally be pro-German and anti-French. It is a law, a public policy, which we are following, and not a mere expedient dictated by accidental circumstances or likes or dislikes or any other sentiment. The question, therefore, arises which is today the power in Europe, which is the strongest, and which seeks in a dangerous and oppressive sense to dominate. Today, for this year, probably for part of 1937, the French army is the strongest in Europe. But no one is afraid of France. Everyone knows that France wants to be let alone, and that with her, it is only a case of self-preservation. Everyone knows that the French are peaceful and overhung by fear. They are at once brave, resolute, peace-loving, and weighed down by anxiety. They are a liberal nation with free parliamentary institutions. Germany, on the other hand, fears no one. She is arming in a manner which has never been seen in German history. She is led by a handful of triumphant desperadoes. The money is running short. Discontents are arising beneath these despotic rulers. Very soon they will have to choose on the one hand between economic and financial collapse or internal upheaval, and on the other, a war which could have no other object, and which, if successful, can have no other result than a Germanized Europe under Nazi control. Therefore, it seems to me that all the old conditions present themselves again, and that our national salvation depends upon our gathering once again all the forces of Europe to contain, to restrain, and if necessary to frustrate German domination. For believe me, if any of the other powers, Spain, Louis XIV, Napoleon, Kaiser Wilhelm II, and with our aid, become the absolute masters of Europe, they could have despoiled us, reduced us to insignificance and penury on the morrow of their victory. We ought to set the life and endurance of the British Empire and the greatness of this very island high in our duty, and not be led astray by illusions about an ideal world, which only means that other worse controls will step into our place, and that the future direction will belong to them. It is at this stage that the spacious conception and extremely vital organization of the League of Nations presents itself as a prime factor. The League of Nations is, in a practical sense, a British conception, and it harmonizes perfectly with all our past methods and actions. Moreover, it harmonizes with all those broad ideas of right and wrong and of peace based upon controlling the major aggressor, which we have always followed. We wish for the reign of law and freedom among nations, and within nations, it was for that, and nothing less than that those bygone architects of our repute, magnitude, and civilization fought and won. The dream of a reign of international law and of the settlement of disputes by patient discussion, but still in accordance with what is lawful and just, is very dear to the British people. You must not underrate the force which these ideals exert upon the modern British democracy. One does not know how these seeds are planted by the winds of the centuries in the hearts of the working people. They're there, and they're just as strong as their love of liberty. We should not neglect them because they are the essence of the genius of this island. Therefore, we believe that in the fostering and fortifying of the League of Nations, we will be found to be the best means of defeating and defending our island's security, as well as maintaining grand universal causes with which we have very often found our own interest in natural accord. My three main propositions are, first, that we must oppose the would-be dominator or potential aggressor. Secondly, that Germany, under its present Nazi regime, and with its prodigious armaments so swiftly developing, fills unmistakably that part. Thirdly, that the League of Nations rallies many countries and unites our own people here at home in the most effective way to control the would-be aggressor. I venture most respectfully to submit these main themes to your consideration. Everything else will follow them. It is always more easy to discover and proclaim general principles than to apply them. First, we ought to count our effective association with France. That does not mean that we should develop a needlessly hostile mood against Germany. It is a part of our duty and our interest to keep the temperature low between those two countries. We shall not have any difficulty in this so far as France is concerned. Like us, they are a parliamentary democracy with tremendous inhibitions against war, and like us, under considerable drawbacks in preparing their defense. Therefore, I say we ought to regard our defensive association with France as fundamental. Everything else must be viewed in proper subordination now that the times have become so sharp and perilous. Those who are possessed of a definite body of doctrine and of deeply rooted convictions upon it will be in a much better position to deal with the shifts and surprises of daily affairs than those who are merely taking short views and indulging their natural impulses as they are evoked by what they read from day to day. The first thing is to decide where you want to go. For myself, I am for the armed league of all nations, or as many as you can get, against the potential aggressor, with England and France as the core of it. Let us neglect nothing in our power to establish the great international framework. If that should prove to be beyond our strength, or if it breaks down through the weakness or wrongdoing of others, then at least let us make sure that England and France, the two surviving great free countries of Europe, can together ride out any storm that may blow with good reasonable hopes of once again coming safely into port.